So in an absolutely vicious display that made the performance from their first fight look like child's play, Luis Nery goes in and destroys Shinsuke Yamanaka in 2 rounds, dropping him 5 times. Technically 4 times because one of the knockdowns wasn't called in the first round. But man, that was that was savage. That was really savage. And I guess it kind of just goes to show that in terms of the talent level between the two of them and the talent level of Nery, as it were, that maybe in their first fight, Nery was actually slightly compromised and may have been somewhat all along as a bantamweight, regardless of what measures he took to make the weight, which may have included illegal substances on purpose or not on purpose. But yeah, he looked way more powerful here against Yamanaka. Like that extra few pounds that he was able to keep on, I guess, as it were, because Yamanaka did go through with the fight, even though they did have a second day weigh-in for Nery. As long as he was able to stay below 128 on the 8 hours before the fight, they would allow him to go on with it. Like Yamanaka would agree to actually go through with the event. And yet Nery did. He weighed in, I think it was 126.7, something like that, on his way to, rehydrating probably even further and going into the ring and just blasting Yamanaka. And it's really unfortunate, man, because, Yamanaka's had just a great career. He was the longest reigning champion in boxing. For all intents and purposes, has a Hall of Fame, is a Hall of Famer. He's a guy that was on the pound-for-pound list up until the first fight with Nery. Funny enough, he still is the Ring Magazine champion, the lineal champion at bantamweight. But it's anybody's guess as to whether or not he's going to continue in his career. I'd imagine potentially not, considering the fact that he was so hungry for revenge against Nery, and Nery just didn't allow him that in any sense of the word or in any manner of the form whatsoever. Just and the thing is, in this fight, I'm kind of going on. Haven't even really got to what actually happened in the fight. Yamanaka actually started it off really good. He was out jabbing Nery. He landed a couple of good body shots. Nery landed 1 or 2 good shots within the first, I'd say, minute and a half of the first round. But once it pretty much hit the minute and a half mark, almost like clockwork, funny enough, Nery just went bananas and and just started unloading combinations. And his hands looked quicker than the first fight. He looked stronger than in the first fight all of a sudden. I was thinking maybe, Nery might be starting slow. Maybe he was still drained from trying to make weight. He initially missed weight. He was 123 at the first weigh-in, 121 2 hours later. And, he only rehydrated up to 126.7 9 hours ago. And, is probably 130-ish probably now. But, man, you wouldn't have known that the guy yesterday, freaking with towels all over him, with Jorge Arce trying to get him to his feet, almost helping him to his feet, would go in there and just look like as much of a savage as he did in the ring against Yamanaka just a few minutes ago. But he did. He dropped Yamanaka at first with a jab. It was like a power jab. It was almost like the same type of jab that Sirisa Ketsurungvasai, interestingly enough, has landed on a number of guys. Landed on Roman Gonzalez, landed on Juan Francisco Estrada, where it was a left cross that was a lead, followed by the jab. So it was almost like a hooking jab where it was there was a lot of power on it because he's stepping into it after having thrown the left cross as the lead. So it's there's so much extra momentum on top of it. It wasn't, your run-of-the-mill, step into a jab type of punch. He dropped him with that shot. Yamanaka managed to get up, but he was badly wobbled. Nery followed up with a combination, put him down with that combination. Yamanaka was able to get up. Nery started teeing off on him again. The round ended. Second round began. Yamanaka looked like he was trying to really fight it out with Nery. Nery caught him with another couple of shots, put him down with a combination, right hook, left cross, hooking left cross. Put him down almost through the ropes. Yamanaka almost fell completely out of the ring. Got back up after that, was fighting like hell, just trying to, compete on some level with Nery, but Nery was just too powerful, especially this version of Nery, basically a super bantamweight version of Nery. Went in there and he was just too much of everything, too much speed, too much power, too much explosiveness for Yamanaka. And just the in the past I've seen Nery kind of start slow, look like there may be, some kind of warm up period for him, and I do think that might have been just because of the fact that at 118 that he was actually taking something out of himself in order to make that weight. Whether or not he did it with pet assistance, but it's one of those cases where we may be looking at a fighter that's actually even more dangerous with each weight class he goes up, at least maybe up to 126. Say if he was to go all the way up to 130, I don't think that he'd be quite as explosive in comparison to what his opponents would be, as he has shown himself to be at 118 and now incidentally at 122, basically, for all intents and purposes. But it's really unfortunate for Yamanaka, man, after having such a great career. But, Nery, incidentally, takes the clout onwards and upwards. He looms as a very, very dangerous opponent for anybody at 122 pounds, bar nobody. Yeah, the version of Nery I've seen in his last 3 fights straight, between Yamanaka 1 and 2 and the Arthur Villanueva fight. Nery is a dangerous fighter. Very, very just an explosive, kind of vicious, attacking, aggressive beast of a pugilist, man. He's going in there and he's looking to take your head off with every single shot, and he just might do it. Considering he already has a running relationship with the WBC, I could very well see him potentially challenging the WBC super bantamweight champion Ray Vargas sometime in the near future. What would be an excellent fight. I mean, otherwise there's Daniel Roman, who of course defended his title yesterday successfully, the WBA champ, as well as Ryosuke Wasa, who actually successfully defended his title on the undercard of this fight, as the co-feature of this fight against Ernesto Salong. Matter of fact, they're broadcasting that fight right now. It looks like they're not broadcasting the whole thing because they just skipped from round 2 to round 5 all of a sudden. But Ryosuke Iwasa won a very dominant decision in order to defend his title. Good, and it's very good for him, because I didn't particularly think much of his boxing skills going into the Oguni fight, Yukinori Oguni. I thought Oguni would outbox him much the same way that he did against Jonathan Guzman, but Oguni fought trying to basically go toe-to-toe, blow for blow with Iwasa, and that was the wrong game plan because Iwasa just punished him, not unlike what Nery just did. And it appears as though Iwasa kind of punished Salong as well, Salong of the Philippines. Looking pretty good there. But once I get full fight footage of Iwasa versus Salong, I'll definitely recap that one in more detail, as well as the Daniel Roman versus Ryo Matsumoto fight, since that fight is tape delayed all the way until Saturday, and they didn't actually air it live yesterday. Once I get a copy of the footage, I'll do a review on that. But as for now, Nery, he looms as one of the most dangerous contenders now at 122 pounds. Probably the most dangerous fighter without a belt at the moment. Although, maybe Guillermo Rigondeaux might have something to say about that if he does, in fact, return to 122 and continue his career there. Who knows if he'll decide to go back to 122 or possibly even settle in at 126 in the near future. But, Nery's looking like a problem, man, whether it's Ray Vargas or you got the WBO champ as well, the only champion I have yet to mention in this video, Jesse Magdaleno. Although you have Isaac Dogboy out there who looms as mandatory, and Magdaleno has been having trouble make weight, so maybe Nery will play into that title at some point in the near future as well. You got your Tomoki Kameda, you got Gavin McDonald coming up against Gamal Yafai in a reasonably important fight. Pretty much crowns probably the top 122 pounder out of the UK, so they'll probably play into the near future as well, potentially maybe as an eliminator of some sort. But Nery, he proved that the first fight wasn't necessarily just because he was on clenbuterol beef and and what have you, But he looked real fucking dangerous, man. He looked more destructive than I've ever seen him before, actually, in this fight. Ugly beatdown. Yamanaka was trying like hell, and he looked pretty good. Looked really sharp to start out, but Nery, he just came across the wrong guy, wrong place, wrong time, wrong guy. Wrong circumstances. It's really unfortunate for Yamanaka, man. I can't stress that enough. But looks like that's all for this one, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.